Hi guys, so I thought I would start making guides more regularly, and this will be the start of a guide series actually called The Basics of BDO. And this is supposed to introduce you to some of the mechanics in BDO and how to actually analyze your gear, where to grind, and your crystals as well as lightstones for yourself without needing a specific guide to tell you exactly what to go. So to start with today, we'll start with something called AP and DP brackets, which are very relevant for you to understand how much actual AP you gain from reaching certain points in the game, as well as how much actual DP you gain from reaching certain points in the gearing process. To do this, we'll once again head to garmoth.com. I will link it down below. And once you're on Garmoth, you will go to the drop-down menus and go to brackets. Now, this might look a little confusing at the start, but we'll go through everything and I'll explain which column means what and what you have to expect from each of these brackets. So for now, we're just going to ignore the top of this window because this is what you can use to calculate what you actually need to do to reach certain steps and how to see how much actual AP you gain. To start with though, what are these columns? So these columns, the first AP column says the beginning of the bracket. So now what is an AP bracket even? An AP bracket is once you reach a certain AP level, you will gain bonus AP based on that sheet AP that you have. That bracket will have a range. So as long as you're in between that range, you will gain X amount of total AP. This is cumulative. So that means, let's say you go from 100 AP to 140 AP, you won't only get the difference, like the 5 AP difference once, you will get it twice. So you get 10 bonus AP in total. The bonus AP bracket will show you how much bonus AP you get in total, cumulative how much AP you get extra for each of these brackets. The bonus difference will tell you exactly the amount of extra AP you get for each bracket. So not the cumulative amount, like the bonus AP, but the exact amount that each bracket will give you. Total attack AP shows you how much actual attack AP you will have in total if you are hitting this bracket. And in this case, it always goes off of the very end of the bracket. So at 139 AP, you will have 144. Same with 169 AP, you will have 179 total attack AP. Now, this is disregarding any buffs you have, any crystals you have slotted in. This is based solely off of your sheet AP. Now, why is this relevant, you might say? This is relevant because it will influence how you decide to gear and which upgrades you should be getting when. If you have the possibility to reach a bracket like 265, which will give you 21 bonus AP, then you should try and aim for that. Same with later on, it being less relevant if you actually hit the AP bracket. So you can make choices based on what your gear is currently and what your gold is, if it's a certain grind zone, if it's a certain item that you want to be able to get. All of this, you can base it off of what AP bracket you want to reach. Now, we also have DP brackets in the game. DP brackets, the one kind only goes to 401. So what do I mean by the one kind? So as you can see, you again have DP column 1, which is the start of the bracket, DP column 2, which is the end of the bracket, and now it says bonus percent DR. You only get extra bonus percent DR until 30%, which you get at 401. After that, you do not get any more bonus percent DR for getting extra DP. Oh, so what's the point in getting extra DP? Well, if we go to the third tab on the very top, you can see there's now not only 2 DP brackets for the start and end of the bracket, but there's also damage reduction. Now, damage reduction, without it being a percent damage reduction, is not cumulative. So your damage reduction that you see here in this column, if you have 2 extra damage reduction from 255 DP to 253 DP to 255 DP, you get 2 extra damage reduction. But if you go all the way down at 691 DP to 699 DP, you get 120 extra damage reduction. This does not add up though. So it isn't 2 plus 4 plus 6 plus 8. It's really just flat out 2. And then for the next bracket, it's flat out 4. And for the last bracket, it's flat out 120 extra DR that you get. Now, let's go to the calculation bit at the top. The calculation bit at the top is where you can put in your current AP. Let's say I have 235 AP, which would be this bracket right here. And my goal is to reach the 265 AP bracket. It would tell me how much total sheet AP is required to reach that. In this case, it would be 30 AP, like 30 sheet AP that I need. But the total AP gain that I would get is not 30, it is 112 actually. So that is a huge jump in AP that I'm getting for doing 30 sheet AP. Why? Because all of this is cumulative and you get a total of 122 bonus AP from going from 100 AP to 265 AP. Okay, but in the last video, I was talking about monster damage, which is different from actual AP. Monster damage AP scales a little bit differently than total AP does. To see how this scales differently, we need to go to our gear planner. Will look something like this. Obviously, at your point in time, it might have a lot less gear, but the basic principles will stay the same. When you have your gear slotted in, as well as your journals enabled, the ones that you have done so far, as well as your crystals that you will be using, and your consumables that you will be using. Don't forget about the passives. You want to have all your guild skill passives and your class skill passives enabled. Now, when we look at this, we can see on the side here, there's a bunch of numbers. All of these numbers mean something, and we'll go through what they mean and how to read this properly. So your total attack AP is what we were talking about before. Your total attack AP is based off of your sheet AP, the brackets that you get with your sheet AP, your crystals that give flat AP, your consumables that give flat AP. That will give you your total attack AP. Now, in my case, because I'm an awakening player, I will be looking at the offense awakening stats for this. Okay, so why is my total AP 743, whereas my monster awakening AP 1567? So not only do you gain a bunch of extra stats from having consumables, crystals, and all that stuff on, you also gain monster AP from each sheet AP that you get after the 300 mark. Each sheet AP will give you 8 monster AP that you gain after 300 sheet AP, which means in total you're gaining 9 monster AP for each sheet AP, because you have the 1 AP from the sheet plus the 8 hidden AP that you get from getting that sheet AP. This will be pure monster AP. When you look though, you can have extra human AP, extra Kama Sylvian AP, extra animal AP, and extra demi-human AP and Adania AP. Now, animal AP is just the AP of mobs that do not have a specific mob type. The reason why it's different at the moment is because they haven't fixed a certain thing in the game yet. This will be fixed coming this patch though, so there's no real reason to mention it. In future, your monster AP will also be your animal AP. Now, when we go to defense, when we go to the defensive stats, you can see I have melee, ranged, and magic damage reduction. And then I have monster damage reduction. If we look at the total monster damage reduction, it will usually be higher than your normal damage reduction. And then that again is because of having certain consumables. Consumables and crystals will have specific monster damage reduction instead of just flat out damage reduction for you to be able to stack this stat higher. At the very end, we have evasion stats. Now, evasion stats are really not very relevant for PvE. These are way more relevant in PvP and only for certain classes. So there's no real reason to talk about this until we get to the PvP video. As you can see, you can also see your basics: health points, stamina points, resistance points. Now, resistance is another thing that is only relevant in PvE this time instead of PvP. There's no more resistances in PvP. But each grind zone at higher ends will have a certain type of CC, and you will have to slot in crystals to avoid getting CC'd at those grind zones. More on this will come in the crystal video. As I said in the previous video, it is a really important resource to start using Garmoth.com as soon as you can and start understanding what it actually is that you're looking at for each of these stats. It will help you a lot in the long run, and it will also help you to not have to follow a specific guide to a T and instead be able to make your own choices based off of what stats you currently have and what stats you would like to gain. As I said, this is the first video of a series of videos I'm planning to make explaining the basics of BDO to people, and I hope to catch you in the next one.